Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Kings of Queen City podcast, and we are back after a rough week one. Did not really go the way any of us thought it would, and we're just gonna start it off the Bengals dropped to 0-1 if you didn't see somehow. 23-20 against the Steelers. They had a chance to win it at the end multiple times and came up pretty much a long snapper short. And I kind of wanted to start off. What is your guys' panic meter at? Scott, Jake, how are you guys feeling right after this? Is the panic meter high, low? Where you at? Give me a 1 through 5.
I think mine's maybe a 0.
Okay.
I'm not panicked at all. Honestly, I know that during the game, me and Eli was making a big deal about it, but you could tell they looked rusty, and that not having actual game snaps really hurts a lot. And I don't buy a lot into the preseason, honestly. I don't think getting one set of plays with them all together actually changed the course of the game, but it did look rusty. They looked a lot better in the second half, but maybe if the defense looked really bad too, I would be a little worried. But honestly, other than the offense, in the second half, though, they kind of looked like last year's team.
Yeah, I'd say my panic meter would be like a 1. I'm not super panicked, but I definitely think there are some things about that game that raise serious flags. It's weird because, to be completely honest, the Bengals didn't deserve to be within about 30 points of that game. Versus other teams, or versus what we would consider the teams we'd have to go through in the playoffs and stuff. That game's over in the first half because it's 28-0. So, offense was bad, defense played well. I'm not necessarily the long snapper. The problem was in overtime. The extra point wasn't on the long snapper. That was on we didn't really block it, and we let the guy that was terrorizing us all game and one of the best safeties in football just walk up the middle of the line and block a PAT. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. You're gonna have games like that. It kind of reminded me of the Bears game last year, the Packers game last year. It just felt wonky, but I'm not overly concerned about it. But if you see some stuff like this continue to happen, then yeah, I think I would start to get a little panicked about some of the aspects.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think I am likely at I feel like I'm a little higher than you guys, but not much. I think I'm at a 1.5. 1.5 to 2. I definitely agree with Jake. I think if the defense had looked worse, I totally would be more worried. But the defense looked great most of the game. The only way they knew, Jake and I talked about this during the game, that they knew they would have to run some trick stuff to beat us. They knew they could not just line up and run a normal game plan. They ran a lot of reverses, a lot of trick plays, which, credit to them, they did their game plan exactly the way they wanted to. If you wrote a script of how the Steelers were going to be able to beat the Bengals, they did it. And they forced turnovers. They didn't turn over the ball, and that's kind of how they had to beat the Bengals, and they did it. So got to give them kudos. To me, the only main concern was just Joe Burrow being a little rough. But even to that, I'm not super concerned. I listened to him on Cowherd today, and he said his game plan going into this preseason was going to be to play at least a series or two just to try to get his feet under him, which I think is a good thing. I don't think it's this thing where everybody's hammering the rust of players or whatever. I don't love that because you're a player in preseason away from an ACL to being, no one should have played. So you're going to have people on both sides of the spectrum. I think it's going to happen. You've seen a lot of teams be this way. They're rusty at the beginning, so for the long term, not worried at all. Definitely just kind of sucks seeing Joe Burrow start off in such a shaky spot.
Another thing I think we talked about after the game, too, was, Pittsburgh beat the Bills last year.
Yep.
In week one. Week one's just a giant crapshoot. At the end of the season, looking at Monday night's game, do we really think Denver is going to lose to Seattle? Probably not. Week one, you just really never know what's going to happen. They've had weeks to prepare, more time. I'm really just not worried about it at all. And they should have won that game. It's probably the worst game they've played in the last 2 seasons. Well, no, probably since the COVID season. So, and to still have a chance to win it, like I still feel good, even though that's one of the worst teams in probably the AFC. I mean, I still think it says a lot. They put themselves in a position to win it, even playing that bad.
Yeah. I mean, this is a loss that can. I mean, it's only week one, so there's only like you can only go up, but this is a loss that definitely can come back and kind of bite us in the ass. I mean, it's not just an AFC loss; it's a divisional loss. Um, and just kind of thinking about it, it almost feels like from the Steelers' sense, this is kind of like the Ryan Finley game we had, like just flipped. No one was really giving them tons of a chance, and the other team played pretty much horrendously. Like they didn't do what they needed to do. They gave you plenty of chances to get a lead, and then great team like when the Ryan Finley game we were god awful, but the Steelers kind of let us get a lead, and then we let them hang around, and they had plenty of chances to kind of finish it off, and they just couldn't. Like it just kind of felt like that to me. So like I'm not overly worried, but it's not a good loss. A divisional loss is extra tough, especially coming week one. Like it's just it it's more concerning the fact that this was the Steelers. Like if this exact game we played that exact week one and it was versus let's say the Vikings like it was last year, like I don't think it's as big a deal, but like we can be okay. Like we're still super talented. Just you can't turn the ball over 5 times. I read something that like the last team to win an NFL game with a -5 turnover differential, it's happened like once like since 2000. It happened in like 2002, and that's it. So it's nice we had a chance, but you can't win football games playing like that.